Welcome back. Amid the threat of another possible government shutdown, Republicans on Capitol Hill are rejecting Democratic calls to make changes to a Department of Homeland Security funding bill. A number of Democratic senators are warning now they will not vote for a $1.2 trillion federal funding package if it includes money for DHS. They're urging Republicans to remove the DHS bill from the larger appropriations package to let the other 5 bills for other agencies pass. Senate Republicans, however, are looking to move all 6 bills together and are defending ICE officers' funding for equipment and training, even as 2 fatal shootings in Minneapolis have only intensified calls for accountability. The deadline for a deal is Friday at midnight. I want to bring in Democratic Congressman Seth Magaziner of Rhode Island. Congressman, thank you for joining us. Right now, you're at home, but I know that you've been doing some travel this week because as there's a debate in Washington over this DHS funding package, which has already passed the House, albeit not with your support, there is this larger conversation among House Democrats of what does accountability look like and what can we do to shine a light on what's happening within immigration enforcement actions, not just in Minneapolis, but across the country. So talk about why you went to Louisiana and what you saw while you were there.
Well, thank you, Allie. And yeah, the important point here is that the dysfunction and lawlessness of the Department of Homeland Security under the Trump administration goes far beyond the tragic killing of Alex Preddy and the violence in Minneapolis. From the very beginning, this administration has been deporting children with cancer. U.S. military veterans, has been beating American citizens in the street, entering homes without warrants. It's completely out of control. Along with a group of other members of Congress led by Benny Thompson, our Homeland Security leader in the House, we went to Louisiana and I visited the processing center in New Orleans where that 4-year-old U.S. citizen child with cancer was brought and ultimately deported to Honduras against the will of his parents and without the ability of the parents to even talk with a lawyer before this U.S. citizen's rights were violated and his health put at grave risk. And so it just illustrates again that this problem that we're dealing with the Department of Homeland Security, it is so far beyond even what has been happening in Minneapolis. And that is why we need to say no to more funding for ICE and DHS until there is significant change, including, by the way, the removal of Kristi Noem as the Secretary of Homeland Security.
Yeah, because the work that y'all did on the Homeland Security Committee yesterday was meant to start building a body of evidence if House Democrats ultimately move forward on impeachment. I wonder if you can give me your take on what the top House Democrat, Hakeem Jeffries, said yesterday on air with our Chris Jansing, talking about the fact that he is now laying down a new marker for Democratic leadership that has sort of tiptoed around impeachment, saying that if Kristi Noem is not fired or steps down, then House Democrats are trying to move forward with an impeachment resolution, although I don't know that you guys have the votes. But I just wonder what your thinking is behind this new strategy.
Well, it's not one strategy. There's multiple sides to this. The first is absolutely. Yeah, the first is absolutely. We need to pass laws that will restrict the lawless behavior that we have seen in the department under the Trump administration. And Senate Democrats are doing exactly the right thing, saying that they will vote no on the funding bill unless it includes real reforms, constraints around the use of force, sending Border Patrol back to the border where it belongs, mandating training and de-escalation, body cameras, all the rest. That is important. But the fact of the matter is that personnel is policy. And with Kristi Noem, you have someone who has lied repeatedly to the American people and who has directed the people working under her to behave in a lawless manner. So our leader in the House, Hakeem Jeffries, is absolutely right that we should be launching an impeachment inquiry to build a body of evidence for why she needs to be removed from office. Listen, the Trump administration very well may remove her before we even get that far. There's a lot of finger pointing going on right now in the White House. They know that they have a problem and that they have been screwing up. Like, just look at yesterday, right? You have Republican senators blaming Kristi Noem. You have Kristi Noem blaming Stephen Miller. You have Stephen Miller blaming the agents on the ground. And you know what? They're all right because the department is a mess. But ultimately, she is the secretary. She is the one who has accountability. And we are going to build this body of evidence for why she needs to be removed from office.
And again, there is an open question on if there are enough votes that you could get from Republicans. I agree that there's some skepticism in their ranks in the Senate. The House is out this week, so we're not having a clear chance to ask many of these Republicans. But we'll see when they come back to town and what unfolds over the course of the next few days, ultimately on government funding or on this question of what accountability looks like for an ICE apparatus that seems out of control on the ground in Minneapolis. We'll have to leave it there. I did want to ask you about that Customs and Border Protection report that was sent to your committee. We're going to get there later. I'm sure we'll have you back. Democratic Congressman Seth Magaziner of Rhode Island, thank you for coming on.
Thanks, Allie.